Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Before we get going, Town Council's office will be holding a training session regarding the conflict of interest law, open meeting law, public records request on December the 13th at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the Civil Defense Room of Town Hall. So if anyone would like to avail themselves of that, we would appreciate it. First up this evening is a fee hearing. It's a continued fee hearing for 2013. Some of the items that we have, going down the list. First one's in the fire department. The board held this over. The present fee, the base rate was $365.73 plus 25%. The proposed fee is $342.87 plus 50%. The preload mile is $6.86. The proposed fee is $26. ALS 1 base rate $434.31 plus 25 was the present fee. Proposed fee is $407.16 plus 50%, and the preload mile was $6.86. The current proposal is for $26. The ALS 2 base rate was $268.60 plus 25%. The proposed fee is $589.32 plus 50%. The preload mile present fee is $6.86. Proposed fee is $26. And specialty care, $742.89 plus 25% is the current fee. Proposal is $692.46 plus 50%. Preload mile, similar, is $6.86 presently. The proposed fee is $26. Also in the fire department, liquid propane, currently there is no inspection permit. The proposal is for $50. Hazardous materials processing, there currently is no fee. The proposed fee is $50. In mulch permit, there is currently no permit fee, and it would go to $50. There is a smoke detector, a carbon monoxide detector inspection, single-family dwelling unit. It's currently $35, and the proposal is to go to $50. Chief Sullivan, are you here? And then we'll get comments from the board. I know the board held this because we sought comments from the public.
Hi, good evening, Chief Sullivan. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
What is a mulch permit? Is that for?
A mulch permit is for an area like Blacksmith Shop Farms or Allenby, somewhere where they store a large quantity of mulch. It's not the everyday mulching of your home or something like that.
Because some of it comes combustible. Is that what happens?
It can, yes, and we want to make sure they address
Okay.
that. Sorry.
I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve these rates. I'd love to hear if we do have any public comment or concern. That's the reason we held this, to make that open.
You make a motion to approve these fee increases? Yes. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Do I have any public comment? Any discussion from the board? I do have one question. I asked Assistant Town Manager Harper to find out, in the case of the town of Falmouth, what the town's insurance would reimburse on a scenario like this. And were you able to find that out for me this afternoon?
I don't have a lot more information. I can tell you that the beneficiaries, the members, subscribers to the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, which includes members from all across the Cape and Islands as well as foreign, all over the Cape. There's no copay for the ambulance, so there's no copay that's required of the subscriber. The best we can learn today, the Blue Cross Blue Shield under the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group plan pays whatever the rate is, appears to pay whatever the rate is charged, and they do not have a negotiated rate with all the municipalities. So if their ambulance ride is in Barnstable, they pay the Barnstable rate. If their ambulance ride is in Bourne, they pay the Bourne rate. If it's in Falmouth, they pay the Falmouth rate. So it really varies depending on where the generating call is from.
Okay. My particular comments on this is that just because someone else does it in this situation doesn't mean it's right. And, currently the fire department does a wonderful job in rescue calls. I think we have an elder population that continues to grow in this community. But we also still want to encourage families and working people. And the elderly and the folks who are on Medicare only pay the base rate that's targeted for the 30% of the people in this community who have health insurance or paying cash. That's really all that this is at targeting. And then keeping in mind 70% of the runs go to Medicare and Medicaid folks who are just paying the base rate. So the town has been fortunate to be able to rein in escalating costs of health insurance, but that's because we've taken steps with the Cape Cod Municipal Health Care Group to increase co-pays, increase deductibles, out-of-pocket expenses, and things like that with those folks. And by doing things like this, we become more part of the problem than we become part of the solution. So my personal scenario in this is if this were something that we're in dire straits, I would say, yeah, sure. But because Barnstable does it, to me, doesn't make it right. So I'm going to vote against this evening. And I just don't think that, I think that, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Right now, we're doing pretty good. We've got a good base rate, and we add 25% for those folks who are paying cash or on health insurance. And that's my personal view here with the board. Any other comments?
Just, Mr. Chairman, I was evidently not here for the original, when this came in, and I was wondering what the reasoning was. I was not here, Chief. I was out. And what the reasoning was for the rate increases?
To keep up with the industry standard and the cost. Last year, I was in front of the board and submitted some documentation showing the average on Cape Cod was most communities or ambulance services charge a Medicare rate plus 75%. For years and years, we were at the Medicare percentage, and we were also in contract with some of these other municipal groups that the Assistant Town Manager Harper mentioned, and we've since canceled those contracts because we were also limited by being under contract what they could actually submit. They would only submit like $25, say, more than Medicare, regardless of what we believe the cost should be. So,
Yeah, Doug?
I remember reading some in the past, the idea of trying to get caught up a little bit with the other organization, other towns. Do you see this would be a continuing request that we're going to keep going, or do you think this is where we can stick at this rate plus 50%?
I would say go up another 25% next year. I recommend that we go to 100% this year, but it was not approved, so. It's really entirely up to the board, what you want to charge, what you think is a fair rate. The funds go back to the general fund, and it's just hopefully that it could be utilized for.
The chair mentioned cash payments for I can't imagine there are many cash payments for ambulances, are there?
I thought it was a law that everybody had to have insurance in the state of Massachusetts.
So the chief did present to us that 70% are Medicare and Medicaid. The additional 30% are, folks with insurance. So that's who it would affect.
Right. But they're not, it's the insurance company paying for these rates. And
Well,
I
it is.
understand that makes the insurance rates go up.
It is, but in some scenarios where people are paying 20%, 20%. 80% insurance would cover 80%, not the whole 100%. Right?
Just an FYI, I just did some quick math here, and it looks like it's an average increase of 12%. I know we're talking about going from the plus 25 to the plus 50%, but the current fees and the proposed fees are, I guess, based on the Medicare rates. So for example, the base rate is $365.73. The new proposed base rate is $342.87. So because these base rates are dropping, even though the plus percentage is going up, I just did some quick math, like I said, and it's an average of 12% increase. So it's not a 25% increase because the base rate itself is actually coming down.
And that's a good point, sir. And twice a year, Medicare sets or changes their rates, which can go up or down. We have no control of that. I think that goes along with politics.
So it's conceivable that this rate could change, the Medicare rate could change?
Twice a year, yes.
So that could
January and July.
Right, okay.
That's why most communities go a percentage rate above it instead of a set fee.
Okay. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So 3-1.
So the motion does not carry. The current fees will remain in effect.
I think that Mr. Brock is saying he voted aye.
I said aye.
You said aye.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
late, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was
okay,
just-
okay. The motion does carry. The proposed fees do carry, and that's for all of the fire department fees. Okay? Thank you, Chief. Next up, Department of Natural Resources, commercial full-time student permit. The board, there currently is no full-time student permit, and the board had looked for a definition on that. In the definition from the Department of Natural Resources, it is a resident of the town of Falmouth, Massachusetts, attending a private or public high school, a vocational school, a resident of the town of Falmouth, Massachusetts, and attending a private or public college or university, and carrying 9 or more college credit hours or equivalent during the fall or spring semester of the licensing year. So this is just a student rate for commercial fishery.
I move to approve.
Motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Board of Selectmen, special events permits. As the board had discussed, we looked at making some adjustments to the special events permits. The current special events for up to 49 people is $25, and that includes the entire event. The proposal is $25 a day, including setup days. Special events of 50 or more people, its current fee is $100, and the proposal is $100 a day, including setup days. Special events permit road races, and the current fee is $100. The proposal is for road races, 5K or less, up to 49 people, $25 a day. 50 to 300 people, $100 a day. 300 plus people, $200 a day. 5K to 10K, up to 49 people, $100 a day. 50 to 300 people, $150 a day. And then 300 plus people, $300 a day. A 10K to a marathon, up to 49 people, $150. 50 to 300 people, $200, and 300 people, $400. Why don't we take the special events first section from the board?
For the two special events permit, events up to 49 people and events of 50 or more people, I make a motion as listed with the daily fees, including setup days of $25 a day and $100 a day. And hold off the road race for a second.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? Motion is second. Any public comment? Mr. Zavala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay Zavala, President of the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. What I'd like to urge the Board of Selectmen to consider is that the applicants that come before you are not always town residents. They're not always town businesses, and they're not always philanthropic in their efforts. And depending on where they're located, they can be an advocate for any purpose or just simply for profit that has looked at our community and decided that this is a great spot to come in the summer or any other time of the year and make some money. And so what I'd like to urge the Board of Selectmen to consider is some variables in the way that they approach this. For example, I have the privilege right now of working with our assistant town manager, finding ways to better identify event management planning, both before, during, and post-event management on how to repair or clean up and all of those other facets and components. In looking into this matter, there's a broad array of elements that can be taken into consideration, should be taken into consideration, and they may or may not be cost effective or impact cost in some form or fashion. There's also the very real possibility that for many of our outdoor events, weather conditions should be taken into account. It's not only the threat of weather, but what happens before a storm, during a storm, and whether or not it's good or bad. Anyway, there's so many other factors that play into this. And so for our business community and for our nonprofit sectors as well, I'd like to see us be a little bit more generous in dealing with them than we may be with someone who comes in for one time a year and may not give the Peg Noonan Park or other locations the same care and consideration that our town folks might. So with that in mind, I know it's massaging this a bit and trying to look for some elasticity in it, but I would ask that you be mindful and careful of how you address that apply that to our community.
So what would you propose?
Because the numbers vary, I would look at the numbers that we currently have in place. I know that we often talk in terms of a day event. Well, there's also the day before and the planning or the staging that has to go into effect. There's also reaching out into the community for the abutters. There's reaching out to the police and fire departments to find out how they're going to be affected, demonstrating whether or not they have insurance policies to protect themselves and the public, whether or not they've taken into consideration event management that includes cleanup and not competing with the folks that are right across the street from them, where to park and where not to. So when you take all of those things into consideration, I would suggest that the pricing structure that currently exists be applied to our business community and our nonprofit members of the community who can pay taxes, and perhaps look at it, consider raising those rates for those out-of-town applicants that want to come to Falmouth.
Okay. Your other issues are currently addressed. We have a $300 deposit, for cleanup and things of that nature for events.
Right.
So parking, it's usually something typically we'll address when we're issuing the permit. Well, especially if it's the size of the event is rather large, we will look to the applicant, how they plan on handling parking as they move through. The one issue that you're talking about is a resident rate versus a non-resident rate. We had looked at the potential of those folks actually making a profit versus just providing an event for the quality of life of folks in this community. We found that that is not, in fact, passed the muster test with legalities.
Yeah.
So the reason that the board moved to put the by-day fee in is because, in fact, a setup day and a close-down day are actually occupying the same amount of space. And
Correct.
It precludes somebody else from using that space on that given day as well. Whether it be someone who wants to even go there for a picnic, no matter what it is, if you're occupying whatever facility, whether Peg Noonan Park or the band shell, you don't have that ability if folks are set up there, because it takes away from the opportunity to just go with your kids and hang out there. So that's where the board is now. You bring up a good point about a resident fee versus a non-resident fee. But then the key question is, what is it considered a resident fee? If it's a business, is it the business based in Falmouth, or is the person who works there based in Falmouth? So, it's very cut and dry when we're doing a wedding permit. Wedding permit, the people are getting married, one of the two people from Falmouth. So, go ahead.
Well,
Is it so cut and dried, though? Because when we talk about residents, are we talking about full-time residents or part-time residents? And then what's to preclude someone from setting up shop in Falmouth, so to speak, just to take advantage of a reduced rate? I think that there's a few things here that would have to be discussed and ironed out, much like the issues that we talked about with the profit versus non-profit. And I think Ms. Harper may have something to contribute.
Go ahead.
Just the only thing I have to contribute is I think the issues that Jay's talking about are best addressed in the policy that the board could adopt in terms of approving the event itself. The only change that's proposed, and we've had the $25 fee for events of 49 people and $100 for 50 people or more for 5 or 10 years. And that rate is not proposing to change. The only change is the number of days. Is that's an issue that comes up administratively. Do we charge just for the event? Do we charge for the days around the event? And then if that event is precluding an opportunity for another group to use that space, it really is an administrative question, and the way to address that is through the fee-setting process. So it really is this is quite a narrow issue. I can't agree anymore with Jay with the issues he's raising about how to approve the events. This really is a narrow.
Right. And your suggestions are wonderful, and combine them with, Heather's, that we could come up with a policy that would help the board approve those events as we move forward.
Yes,
based on certain criteria.
And now I'm even more enthused because I've been working towards that with Heather to ensure that we've placed before you a pretty substantial package for your consideration that would ultimately result in an event management plan that every applicant would have to look through. Not every facet of it would be applicable to every applicant, but it would ensure that every possibility comes before you.
Right, and there's many issues, like if an event is used in alcohol, we require
Huge.
liquor liability insurance.
I'm on page 34
Control,
right now,
okay.
actually.
That's the problem when you say you're going to keep it brief. Okay, thank you, though.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gross.
I didn't come here specifically for that, but I'm Ed Gross, Chairman of the Bikeways Committee. One thing that we did, with your collaboration, was change the way event organizers tell us about their bikeway use. If they want to use the bikeway, the way it worked in the past was that they would find out what the rules were after they got their license, because it was in the back of the license, and very few of them actually ever saw that. Now, when they apply for a license for a special event, they're asked to sign on the back a set of statements that includes cleanup and minimal damage to the bikeway and marshaling the users, who are more often runners than cyclists, so that other people can actually pass them. Because the bikeway is a transportation corridor as well as a recreational one, and we don't want people to be late for work because somebody's having a marathon. I think that's another variable, is to pick up on Jay's theme, that ought to be taken into consideration. It's a difficult space to clean, and if people hand out cups of water, say, as runners approach a turn onto the bikeway, we're going to have a lot of cups of water to clean up. So far, we've been very fortunate. We haven't had a problem. But if we did, if somebody made a mess and left it and went away, the Bikeways Committee certainly would not have any resources to deal with it. And you might want to consider how you could affirm that the space would be clean and usable.
Well, again, currently we do require a $300 refundable deposit based on cleanup. Okay, thank you. Okay, motion, sir? Yep.
Chris Mee, and owner of On the Water magazine, and we run the Striper Cup and Striper Festival. We're fortunate enough to have the Striper Festival down this year and down there the last 2 years, and I know I'm coming up later in the schedule, so once we set the fees, it'll apply to me shortly. The one thing I would caution the board about would be, I think there's an opportunity there, as Jay indicated, to look at resident versus non-resident. I think Heather's dead on as far as looking at it, because I missed the last meeting when it came up, and it was on the permit for 7 days. It was on the permit for 7 days because of the direction that I'd gotten from Helen Kennedy, who said, Chris, you got to carve out from when you think Taylor Reynolds is going to be able to get in there and set up based on weather to when you think they're going to come down. Now, our event is over. It's on Saturday. We had a Friday afternoon event, but the only time we charge through the door is Saturday. So our event is really going to be limited this year to one day. But I just kind of followed Heather's advice to say, okay, in that case, let's put it from Tuesday to Tuesday. In the event that we need to get, a Taylor rental in and to set it up, I worry that we start, whatever the board decides, I'll pay it and we'll have the event here. But I worry that the board starts to keep some events that could help this community. As the past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, our goal was to try to bring good types of events to this community. I remember when I first came here 2 years ago, you guys welcomed me with open arms, and I was very appreciative of that. I caution the board because that's not the only fee. When you're done coming through the planning department, there's another $250. Each tent is $50. There's a fee, I think, there's a fee for the dumpster. There's a alcohol fee on Friday afternoon and Saturday. By the time you're done, the event starts looking at $700 to $1,000, and it starts to defer some folks who are trying to do a good thing for this community in what I call the shoulder seasons of the Cape. And I just leave that. I think it's up to the board to decide. I am a resident of here, and I also own a business and pay taxes here that way. I think there should be some accommodation taken for those folks that are looking outside of that Memorial Day to Labor Day to bring business into this community. Because, and I think you said it, Kevin, earlier, that there are folks that are profiting on this. There are folks that are profiting, and there are restaurants in addition to myself bringing this in here. It's our restaurants, it's our hotels, it's our businesses. We worked out an arrangement with Falmouth Plaza to have 2 buses transfer folks back and forth there, because we wanted them to start there, we wanted them to end there, so that folks could shop in that area and also hit the different restaurants in that immediate area when they came out at 6:30 at night. So that's the only thing I would caution you about. Anyone can still use the park. If we set up the tents on Wednesday or Thursday, anyone can still use the park. They still do. Even when we're setting up the tent, they still come through. The only time that we close off that park is on Saturday, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow-up. I think the way to address, again, the same issues is through a policy in which you could have, and we've contemplated, we haven't seen it yet, is a waiver or a process depending on the nature of the event and how it fits within the policies and the desires of the board to add events that contribute to the community. So I think those are all fair comments.
Okay. One of the other issues that came up this summer was the overuse of some of these particular parks. Peg Noonan Park really gets used quite extensively in the summer months. You have a couple events that are there on rainy days. Well, it kind of beats up the park a little bit, and there's wear and tear in the community. Some of these fees, the low, $25 for a day, doesn't seem like a lot, but, they add up, and it helps subsidize the DPW and the Parks Department to be able to take care of these facilities, to make sure that they continue to keep them groomed properly. So that's one of the areas that the board originally addressed when we were advertising these. Okay, so I do have a motion and a second. Any further comment? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And we'll continue to work on a policy, and next year as we move through, whether we can address the residency issue in the policy, or maybe address the residency issue in the fee next year. I think it would be a good opportunity.
Kevin, if I may?
Sure.
For the benefit of the board, Heather has already shot a couple of emails over to me asking me where I am on this process, because she's eager to bring this forward. And I got stuck in when I was looking at a whole area called mitigation and variables and waivers and that entire topic. And so I'll have that before Heather shortly and before you, within a short period of time as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So the next issue that the board will look at is road races. The current fee is $100 for a road race. And again, I read them all. 5K, 5 to 10K, there's a 10K, and it's by the day, and it starts at $25, goes up to $400 for over 300 people for a 10K to a marathon. Yes?
I had 2 ideas about this. First of all, I think Brent may have mentioned this before, when we say road race, are we limiting it to uses of the road? Or are there races, for instance, Falmouth Academy did run a race through the BB Woods on Thanksgiving Day. I'm not sure that was technically a road race. Would that be acquiring a permit? And this would be also a place where I would certainly encourage there be waivers for races that are run purely for the benefit of, that one was for the Falmouth Service Center, and that we would be open to waiving fees for those kinds of things.
Well, I have seen a rough draft of Heather's policy, and it did give some waivers for some specific organizations, specifically schools and things of that nature in the community. So,
because I guess I would leave it to the road races, that when it is going to be on the roads is where I would see this fee. If it's not going to be on a road, I'm not sure I would worry that we need to have fees for those kinds of races.
right?
Except that whether it's on the road or, say, the bike path is another potential one, or if you use the BB Woods example, I think we're still talking about use of the infrastructure or the property of the town. And to use the example that was cited earlier, you have a lot of runners with paper cups running through the woods. Well, where are those paper cups going to end up? And especially in the woods, I think the cleanup fee is going to be more difficult, or the cleanup would be more difficult than it would by the side of the road, where the cups are going to be more obvious and not hidden in the brush or something. I think when we talk about, this may be something where we need to define it in the policy, but a road race should probably be defined as any race, whether it's bicycles or people on feet, that uses town infrastructure, uses town property, whether it's the streets or the bike path, or if we're using BB Woods or some other conservation property for the purpose of a cross-country race.
Okay. We're going to have all of your input as we develop the policy as well, so.
I would move the fee structure as proposed then.
Okay. Motion?
I'll second it.
Second. Public comment? Okay, so,
I do have one question, or we may need some clarification. The classes are 5K or less, and then it goes 5K to 10K, and then 10K to marathon. I guess the question is if somebody has a 10K race, does it fall in the middle category or the last category? And if they have a 5K race, does it fall in the first or the second category? 5K or less, and then do we go, greater than 5K to less than 10K? I think there needs to be some clarification there, just.
I think that's a good point. I think if you just put the less sign in between the 5 and the 10K, and the less sign in between the 10K and the marathon.
So
in other words, it would say 5K or less than a 10K, and then it would be 10K or less than a marathon.
or 10K to a marathon.
Yeah, 10K to a marathon.
So the middle one, then we'd just modify that to say 5K to anything less than,
Right.
or up to
Up to.
10K.
Okay. So do you want to amend your motion, Doug, with that included?
I'm very happy to accept that amendment.
Okay.
So the first category is less than 5K. The next one is
5K up to a 10K.
not.
And then the third one is 10K to a marathon. Any further comment? So I'll call for the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. There was one other issue that was advertised, and it was use of the town beach parking lots. It's currently residents are $75, the proposal is residents $75. Currently, non-residents are $150, non-residents are proposed for $150. And then we had, with a wedding permit, and it's to be determined. Now, Heather, you had some suggestions, these are some suggestions that Ms. Harper had. One would be, do you want to explain?
Yeah, I can explain.
Okay.
Currently, there is a fee for a wedding on beaches, it's $75 for a resident wedding, $150 for a non-resident wedding. What is not currently charged are any other related parking charges. The beach department allows folks associated with weddings to use the parking lot. whether in season, out of season, but assumes that they have benefited from the parking with their fee for the wedding. It calls into question whether the board wants to consider an additional charge for the use of the parking facility, since in some cases they are taking up spaces that otherwise might be available in season, or using the parking lot off-season, in which we currently have a beach parking lot fee. So again, it's almost an administrative item that needs to be addressed through this fee structure. What I've given you is just a little breakdown of what the options could be. I gave you a per car, and just use the 5-vehicle minimum. For residents would be $5 with their wedding permit, $5 parking fee plus, or a $10, these are just options, with a $10 non-resident or a $20 non-resident, which with a $5 minimum would be $25 or $50 in column A. Or you could contemplate per event. And I've given you, these are a resident rate. If you go all the way to the end, you see the parking fee. Currently, the resident parking fee is about $75. Non-resident is $150. That's an existing fee. You could do some modification. The first column is a 20% reduction. The second is a $50 reduction. So the resident fee with the parking, with the wedding permit, could be $50, or with a non-resident of $120. And then there's another option there. You simply adopted that if they intend to use a parking lot with a wedding, that they are charged the parking lot fee, then the maximum charge to anyone using the beach and the parking lot would be $300 for a non-resident, or $150 for a resident. This is just provided for the board to contemplate how you want to address that. Something the board asked for, it wasn't something we proposed.
Yes.
I'm inclined, I think we discussed this last time, it'd be, if the parking is available and there's no attendant, then they can use the parking. If the parking's available and there's an attendant, then every car that comes in has to pay a fee, just like anybody else using the beach. It keeps it simple, it's fair to everybody involved, and doesn't require any extra effort on our part, so.
Well, the only effort that it's currently, if they have a wedding permit, and even if there's an attendant there, they allow the people to pull in for the wedding. So we would impose the fee.
Exactly.
The regular parking fee, and make that an issue that we would say. They would have to pay the fee if there was an attendant available.
And certainly, if the people coming had resident stickers, they wouldn't have to pay.
Exactly.
I think what we might be able to do is set up that they can make it a little bit easier for someone having a wedding to purchase passes that they can distribute to their guests, instead of saying, well, you want to come to my wedding, you're going to be charged $10 when you show up at the parking lot.
Right. They can do that through the Chamber of Commerce or through their hotels, motels. So basically, we wouldn't address this. We would just say that parking would be charged at the rate of the beaches. Is that fine?
Right.
Okay. So we don't need to take any action on that. We just give that directive to the superintendent. And that concludes our fee hearing. There is only one other issue that I wanted to let the board know about. We've had some extensive meetings with the Board of Health, the health agents, as well as the town manager, the assistant town manager, in regard to the rental permit, i.e. or rental registration. Currently, there is a town bylaw that is in effect that provides for a rental registration. It provides for a $300 penalty fine for those properties that do not register their properties. But it also provides in the town bylaw what the fee is, and the fee is $25. So we would need to put an article before town meeting if we wanted to have that fee set by the Board of Selectmen. What we discussed was, because it is on the books, that we are going to begin the process, the town manager collectively with the assistant town manager and the folks in the health department are going to implement this process this spring on the current structure of the $25 registration, as well as the have the ability to seek fines, penalties for those properties that aren't registered, and we would make presentations to the board of the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, as well as realtors, about the issue that we're going to present at town meeting, and changing how the fee is set, that it would be set at a fee hearing with the Board of Selectmen versus in the bylaw. So the board will not need to take any further action on that as we move forward. Okay, the next item is a press release from, pardon me, discuss the DEP daytime sound study. Mr. Suso.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, we did receive from the Department of Environmental Protection late last week confirmation of the daytime sound study which they conducted in May and June of this year, and the results have been long awaited in written form. There was a verbal report given to the Wind Turbine Option Process Group. We are pleased to have that final result in writing. We do have a press release that was issued regarding that. Essentially, as the board is aware, there was a confirmation that for all of the time periods tested in all the locations, there was not a single exceedance of the 10 decibel differential between recorded sound and background sound, which is established by DEP regulations, and we so affirmed that in the release. We do have copies of that available, and I believe the DEP has also released that to all interested parties, so I'll be happy if there are any questions about that to address those questions with the board.
For the public's information, where are those copies going to be available?
We'll make certain that they're available at the local libraries, and certainly here at Town Hall at the Selectman's office.
Okay.
And online as well, pardon me, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the board? I know that everyone on the board got a copy of that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next up is interview and appoint Cape Cod Commission representatives.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
because of my relationship to one of the applicants, I'm going to recuse myself from this agenda item.
Okay, thank you very much. We have waited over 9-10 months for an applicant, and then we happen to get 2 applicants within the course of a week. So we're happy to have both applicants this evening and interview both of them. First up tonight is Dr. Gross. If you'd mind telling us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be the board's representative for the Cape Cod Commission.
Thank you. I'm Ed Gross, and I'm currently chairman of the Bikeways Committee. I have been for 6 years, I think it is, something like that. In any event, I'm a physician as well. I practiced pediatrics in Boston until approximately year 2000, but have since only used my medical skills as a consultant, which I continue to do. I have a long-standing interest in conservation matters. As a participant in various organizations, as a person who was very outdoorsy, I've been involved in the creation of organizations and of various efforts to sustain the environment. And I think that our town could use very good representation at the commission. The commission is one of the more powerful planning boards and regulatory bodies in the Commonwealth, and has profound effects on the state of affairs on the Cape. And I see it as a very useful, powerful organization to become part of. I'm open to any questions. I I appreciate the opportunity if I'm given it.
Okay, Doug?
Have you had a chance to make it to any of their meetings so far, or do you know someone who's presently on the commission that you talked to about?
I have made it to a meeting. I've served now for 6 years on the Joint Transportation Committee, which is a committee of the commission. And I know a number of commission members, actually, by sight, and I've had plenty of opportunities to discuss the work of the commission with them.
Great, thank you.
J.D. Harris is perhaps the guy I know best.
Thank you.
David?
Yeah, first, Mr. Gross, I want to thank you for your application very much.
My pleasure.
You may have answered some of this, but can you describe what, your life's learning, how that will relate to the job description you will have at the county level, how you'll be able to apply yourself towards that? I know you talked about you're in transportation, you're on the bike path committee, but could you just say a little bit about that, the job description at the county level, and how your past work will help you in completing that task?
The Bikeways work has brought me into contact with all manner of efforts. For example, I was just, before the meeting began, talking to Mr. Patamas about wastewater management, which has directly impacted the bikeway with the revision of the forced main sewer last spring. And I've come to be sort of a familiar figure at the DPW, so that I've gotten to know quite a little bit about priorities there and some of the issues that affect us or don't affect us on the bikeways, but affect the functioning of DPW with respect to other town services. As far as life learning is concerned, I still have an active physician's license. And in order to do that, I have to have 100 hours of continuing education every 2 years in a variety of forms, and I've been able to maintain that quite well. I've exceeded it. And so I think that I've been able to retain a reasonable amount of flexibility and pick up new things as I go along in order to be able to function well in these various environments.
Would you consider yourself like a consensus builder if you have an issue up at the county where maybe you're on the opposite end, you will make your case, but, I mean...
Yes, flatly yes. I occasionally wander off into strong advocacy, but by and large, I try to build towards consensus. I know that's the way to get things to happen. You don't get things to happen by beating people on the head.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Your credentials in regard to transportation are excellent. The knowledge of forms of transportation in this community, specifically non-motorized, which is very good.
Yes.
However, also in the Cape Cod Commission, that's probably a smaller percentage of what the commission really does. Most of the areas where this representative specifically would work on behalf of the community of Falmouth is helping through the permitting process of projects that have regional impact. The Cape Cod Commission has, we spend a lot of money there, and very seldom do we get a lot of that money back.
Yes.
Because we're kind of way out in the spoke here versus that. And we have a weighted vote, and we have unfortunately not been represented there. What are your thoughts on projects that could go above the impact that would need review on the Cape Cod Commission, projects above the 10,000 square foot range? Because that's really where those type of areas that we really depend a lot from our representative. I look in the audience, I see Mr. Zavala, one of our former representatives on the Cape Cod Commission, and he was well aware of a lot of those issues. What are your thoughts on size and scopes of projects? Do you think they have a place in certain areas and what have you?
Of course they must. But even, for example, the work that's going to go on along Thomas Landers Road in the near future between the Steamship Authority, their parking lot, and the ice arena, these could conceivably come over that limit. Obviously, these things are going to continue to happen, and the issue is to consider how they affect the town, and whether the negatives on the regional impact side are greater than the positives for the town, and vice versa. I mean, obviously, it's always a balancing act. I watched the commission and how it dealt with the idea of the canal side commons. You may remember that project. And I was concerned that they weren't paying enough attention to the transportation aspects of it. It seemed to be the tail on the dog, but they eventually got to it, and that had a very profound impact on how they thought about it.
Okay. Let me follow up, and I know your expertise is in transportation, but if there's a project that in this community, say for instance, Cape Cod Hospital, the Falmouth Hospital location, needed to expand and will look to expand their facility there for the next generation, but it also impacted some transportation. Could you look for the greater good through all of that to see that the greater good would be for the community, that we might have to, in some areas, have some impacts, but for the greater good of the community, we might have a local hospital for the future of this community as well?
I had a teacher in elementary school who used to say, some pills are bitter. Sometimes they are. Sometimes that's necessary to get where you need to go.
Okay.
I'll have to look for alternatives, but the greater good is obviously what a commission like this has to be about.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Gross. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Andrew Putnam. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be our representative?
Sure. My name is Andrew Putnam. I'm 22 years old. I've been involved in the town for the last 2 years. I don't quite have a great extensive amount of experience being involved in the town, of course, probably due to my age. I'm currently chairman of the Affirmative Action Committee, and was born and raised here. I'm very interested in the Cape Cod Commission. I've been following them very closely for the last about 8 months now, and mostly my interest in the Cape Cod Commission comes out of the fact that my generation living here, along with every other generation that lives here, and all the things we deal with when somebody builds something new or we change the structure of things. And on top of that, of course, it doesn't hurt that I come from a small business family that is heavily involved in contracting and real estate, so I've grown up watching those aspects of it well. I know that's where the Cape Cod Commission focuses a lot on, is developments of regional impact. So I guess that would answer the question as to why I'm so interested in being here. So.
Okay. Doug?
I guess the same question. Have you made it to any meetings, or have you had a chance to meet some other people on the commission?
I have had a chance to meet 2 individuals who were on the commission, and as for the meetings themselves, I've not made it to any meetings in person, but I have watched every one of the meetings on video as they are online. I've read every one of the meeting minutes for the last 8 months here, as well as the special committees and their meeting minutes as well. So not just the general commission, but also the subcommittees that a lot of the members do serve on, as it is a requirement. Not per se a requirement, but more so a suggested requirement. So.
Thank you.
First, thank you very much for your application, Mr. Putnam. I appreciate it. It's very nice. A lot of people don't want to give service to the community, but it's very nice that both of you stepped up to try to get this position. Can you answer the same question I asked? I know you are young, and you already mentioned you may not have as much experience, but sell yourself to me. If I was the one who, they have to put, just, go ahead, I mean.
All right. Well, I'm not a doctor. I don't have that. I guess first I'll start with my last 2 years serving for the town. I've been a town meeting member. This year I was elected precinct captain for the first time, which I was excited about. And I've been chairman for the last year on the Affirmative Action Committee, which I can't believe I'm coming on 3 years here. I'm almost due to come back to you guys again for that. In my time on the Affirmative Action Committee as chair, one of the things I did was I took a strong look at the town code, as you already know, I've been before you already, and we're still working on this process. But I've kind of got an eye for looking at things that may be out of date or need fixing. And then, of course, when I find something that may be a loophole or something that's drastically out of date or something that just really needs to be shifted in a new direction because times have changed or the situation has changed, that's the moment where I bring it forward and I grab all the individuals together. I say, hey, here's what we have. Let's move forward with this. And, of course, that's what I've done with the Affirmative Action Committee. I said, listen, there's a 20-year-old town code that's completely out of date. The laws have drastically changed since its inception in 1990, and that's the kind of person I am. I step in, I find those loopholes, I find those things, and I say, listen, we've got some room for improvement here. Let's make things more efficient. Let's actually give this body a greater purpose. That's one of the things, of course, I've done over the last 2 years, and I want to continue to do, not only on the Affirmative Action Committee side, but also I would, as I stand before you today, like to do that on the Cape Cod Commission side. Because as you very well know, the Cape Cod Commission does deal with things such as developments of regional impact, and right now they have a one-size-fits-all regulation standard of 10,000 square feet. Well, sometimes, even if a building is a little over 10,000 square feet, doesn't mean it's really going to be a regional impact, and should we make someone jump through the hoops? And so that's where that side comes into this, being in that role for the last year to actually 2.5 years now on the Affirmative Action Committee. On top of that, I'm a current business student. I'm due to be done with my associates this year, coming year at Cape Cod Community College, which I'm very excited about. I'll have my marketing degree. And then, of course, I do plan on continuing my education there as well. Being a business student, I've done a lot of research over the last couple of years here in terms of how businesses work, what businesses look to do, what is there, or the whole scope of things. I could go on and on about that, but the whole scope of things. And I did get a chance to really learn more about the background which I come from. I said, I come from a small business family that deals with real estate as well as development of real estate, not only just sales of real estate. And being in business school, I've had an opportunity to learn more because, of course, I never really worked with my grandfather or worked a lot with my mom. As you see on my resume, I was her office manager, but that was about it. I took her calls, and she told me what to do, and that was the end of it. So that's a normal day anyway. But so I had a great opportunity there to learn more about businesses. And in my current job, we're dealing right now with possibly relocating, and it's been tremendous for them to include me. Normally my position at my work is not included in those talks of where we're going to move, but they've given me that opportunity recently, and I've learned quite a lot about what it takes for a business to make that decision, what has to be there for that business to make that decision, what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, and I think that's going to play greatly in terms of the planning side, because there's a regulation side and a planning side for the Cape Cod Commission. Okay. And I think that will help me drastically with the planning side and how can we work with you to make this happen. So.
Yes, thank you.
It's no secret that you are a candidate for the Assembly of Delegates. Will this be anything? Will you touch on any of the same type of issues on this as you would have been if you had been elected as a?
Well, one of the things I did talk about over the last couple of months was young people and them being here and their situation here, and I'm part of that generation. And often when we see people come before you guys for committees, I always hear a lot of the same answer, which is, I'm doing this for the next generation. Well, I am the next generation. And we have needs that need to be met now rather than needs that need to be met so that when we're 30 years from now, we have, what we need. there's two different sets of needs there. What I'm going to need in 30 years are different than what I need now. And so I plan on addressing that because I know the Cape Cod Commission does work a lot with the economic development of Cape Cod. And I think that my position right now as a young person in this community who is involved will help me in that aspect. You know, if I see them, you know, come before us and say, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z, and I say, well, wait a second, you know, X and Y sound fine, but Z, that looks like something that really would hurt my generation rather than help my generation. Is there any way for us to rework this? Is there any way for us to come to a compromise and maybe do something that's a little different here? I don't want to see us go down any roads, basically, that could further cripple any types of businesses or any individuals here in the community, because like I said, I mean, I come from a generation that's kind of dwindling here at this moment in time, and it's tough, and you really want to make sure that you've got all your bases covered, and that, you know, if someone's older, they have the ability to do something or live here. Someone's younger, they have the ability to do something or live here. And you wouldn't think the Cape Cod Commission is as tied into that as they are, and they really are, because when they say yes or no to a business, it can make something, break something, you know, it really can have a great impact. So, and that's why they're there in the first place, so.
Okay. Developments of regional impact. Do you think there's a place and a location that's appropriate for some of these projects that are over 10,000 square feet?
I do. There is definitely a place and a location for things that are over 10,000 square feet. I don't think any of us would like to look at Main Street here and all of a sudden see a, you know, 5-story building tomorrow. It doesn't fit. You know, there clearly is a place for anything over 10,000 square feet. But going back to what I said earlier with the 10,000 square feet, that's something I think the commission really does need to look at. And I know that they have looked at that in the past, and I think it's something that needs to be strongly reviewed now. Just because a building is over the size of 10,000 square feet doesn't mean it is going to be a regional impact. You know, obviously, if it's over the size of 10,000 square feet, it's going to be a big building. Where it belongs, that's another question. But for example, we just had the ice arena put in. It's a beautiful facility. It's 60,000 square feet. They actually had to jump through some hoops with the Cape Cod Commission. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't have thought of them as regional impact. I wouldn't have even made them jump through the hoops. You know, they weren't going to increase traffic. They didn't have a regional impact when they were over by the hospital lights. Why are they going to have a regional impact when we put them over by every other major development that Falmouth has, right next to the tech park there? So I think there's room for improvement. I really do think that we have an opportunity and that we owe it to ourselves to sit back and look at this and say, yes, if it's over 10,000 square feet, clearly there's a place for it, and there are places that it doesn't belong. But I think that one size fits all needs to be looked at, because Falmouth's needs are different from Barnstable's needs, which are different from Chatham's needs, as well as, of course, what type of a building it is and what the traffic's going to be like. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What's the board's pleasure here?
Well, I've, most of the weekend been looking at these applications, and I knew it was going to be a tough one to decide, because you have two very good candidates, and I'm glad I was able to hear both of them during the interview process, have answered my questions. I know a lot of times we always say take something under advisement or something, but, you know, being the liaison to the ZBA, I've never seen a committee operate so professionally and they vote that night, and without pushing things along. So I will actually make the motion to place both of these in nomination this evening.
Brett would be the only one that would hold back.
No, I just, a lot of time to go to vote these things, just wait, because someone isn't ready. But I would like to, you know, settle this tonight. It's been quite a while that we haven't had almost 10 or 11 months, I think, and we need to get this position filled. So I would make that motion to place both names in. I'll place Edward S. Gross, M.D., and Andrew Putnam into nomination for the open position on the Cape Cod Commission representative.
Okay, so there's a motion.
I'll second.
Need a second. Yes, Mr. Finneran, we typically don't take comment when we're interviewing folks. Is this?
It's a process comment.
Go right ahead.
Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. As I said, my concern is one of process, of openness and fairness. It's my understanding that this job was advertised, but it hasn't been advertised in almost 9 months. And also, it's my understanding that it was never on the town website. So, and that these two candidates were obtained by outreach, which is fine. But I think it also leaves out members of the public. And beyond that, it's my understanding that a member of the Board of Selectmen had an email campaign supporting his or her preferred choice, which is definitely a violation of the open meeting law. So I think in the interest of fairness, this should be tabled, properly advertised, and brought back later. And I'd like to add that it's nothing personal. I have nothing against Mr. Putnam. I don't know Mr. Gross. As a matter of fact, I enthusiastically support Mr. Putnam. But I think that the playing field should be level for all people in town.
Well, thank you for your comments. This board has, we advertised this position, and we have talked extensively about getting a member to this commission as a representative. As a matter of fact, at one point, we appointed as a temporary our town planner, Brian Curry, who, when he went to the commission, realized that he couldn't vote because he wasn't a Falmouth resident. So this has been in the public eye. To say that there was outreach in this community is an understatement. I think it behooves each and every one of us on the board, when we look for candidates, to go out and find candidates. I look around and I see folks from other committees here, and I know each and every one of them try to search out and try to find viable candidates for their committees. It behooves them, because volunteers are hard to come by. And if you surely want someone that you think can do the job, I don't think it should preclude any member of a committee, any member from a board, or any other regulatory body from going out to try to beat the bushes to make sure that you have fully staffed. And that's one thing about this position. It hasn't been staffed. At least the town of Falmouth has not been represented. We've had a couple of major votes. Teledyne over in North Falmouth. It was a vote that came up that Falmouth had a weighted vote, and we weren't represented, and we had, fortunately, it came out to our benefit. So it's important. I appreciate your comments, but, I won't qualify or quantify any other part of the comments of anybody who made any kind of comments to anybody in regard to a particular candidate. But, so we'll put both names in a nomination, and I will call for the vote.
Did we get a second?
Oh, yes, he seconded it.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Before we take a vote, I would like to say that I appreciate both candidates. I think that each of them provides a unique perspective, and bring different qualities to the table. And it also provides us an opportunity to make a valued judgment here between the board to find out how, in fact, we can fill this particular position. Okay?
One of the things that I have done is that I, as we talked about before, of checking references, was able to call a reference on Mr. Gross. I'm not sure whether I missed a paper page from Mr. Putnam, but I did not have any references listed for him.
Right, I didn't have
that
page
I could
two
not
either.
call, and received very, very strong support.
It was there, I don't know whether you guys get the copy.
Oh, you got it on the back.
It's on the back
Mine a
side.
single copy when she
All
made,
right.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Okay.
and I won't, in that case, I will not add that to my piece of data.
Okay, all right. So I'll call the roll call vote. First, Doug?
Dr. Gross?
David?
Mr. Putnam.
And I would vote for Mr. Putnam. Again, a unique perspective. But I was advised before this meeting, folks, that the Board of Selectmen has a policy that even though you can have 3 members vote for an appointment to a board or a committee, that it has to be a minimum of 3 votes for somebody to be appointed to that board or committee in that policy. So we don't have the 3 votes for any one of the candidates. At this point in time, we can either re-vote or we can speak a little bit. I guess that I would say that I know Dr. Gross very well in my dealings with him on the transportation group. He provides a great perspective with transportation. I know that he's passionate about transportation. There's an understatement in biking, and he serves on one of the subcommittees. But I think in this particular case, in regard to the Cape Cod Commission point, I look at this as not just a transportation issue. I look at this as an issue that has more to do with this community and its growth in the future, and how we intend on seeing the face of this community in the next 10 years. I can say that I sit on this board's representative in the EDIC. The EDIC developed the tech park. Well, the tech park was developed as a technology park, and there's very little technology up there, and it's dying. So we're going to look at, envision whether to bring back the group there and look at the development aspect there to be able to bring vitality back to the tech park. So we're looking for the future, and it's more of a regional aspect, but in the form of development and jobs. And Mr. Putnam has put himself out there as a candidate for the Assembly of Delegates. Surely folks in this community know him because of that, and a lot of folks say, well, I believe during that period that he needed some experience. Well, I think this is an opportunity for them to get some experience with the commission and with that. So that being said, I'm not giving a pitch for a particular candidate, but I'm trying to justify why I voted the way I did this evening. So.
And I guess it does go back a little to the references, just because I was very influenced by the idea that Jay Zavala is one of the references as a Falmouth Chamber of Commerce president in supporting Mr. Gross, which I think does tie into someone who has faith in his ability to support the economic and commercial aspects of the town of Falmouth. That made a difference in my point of view.
Okay. David, have anything else to say?
No, all weekend long I was reading these and trying to formulate what questions I was going to ask, and it's never easy, whatever committee it is, but I don't really know any of these gentlemen. I mean, I know Mr. Putnam just because he was out there trying to run and for the Assembly of Delegates. I've never met Mr. Gross. I consider myself a person who can fairly, meet someone and come to a perspective about them and their character. And these are just both very qualified people to take this job.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a position that really needs to be filled. In that aspect, I would ask you to recall the vote.
Okay, so we both have both names in a nomination, and so I'll look to do a recall on the vote as well. Again, Doug Jones?
Putnam?
David?
Putnam.
And I will go with Putnam as well. All right, thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Gross, and thank you, Mr. Putnam. Good luck. Okay, next up this evening is approve an application, and I see them very patiently waiting here. Approve application for a new common victual license, Just One Bite Restaurant, DBA Parkside Market, 281 Main Street in Falmouth. Are they here? Come right up front.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm going to make a disclosure that it was my wife's, well, she actually worked there at Artie's. It's her brother who just recently sold this the other day. I just want to make that.
As a disclosure? Okay.
Yeah.
How you doing? Do you want to introduce yourself and to explain a little bit about what you want to do over there?
Sure. My name is Stephen Bowen. I'm actually from the Vineyard. We have 2 restaurants there. We recently, as you know, purchased Artie's. We want to do something along the same lines, casual, family atmosphere. I have a wife and an 8-year-old daughter.
Okay.
We focus on just very simple, high quality. We try to give back to the community. We support several local charities on the vineyard. We plan on doing the same here.
Do you foresee yourself or any of your other partners being able to commute occasionally here to this property as well?
I plan on making this my main focus.
Okay,
So-
great, okay. Very good. Couple of questions. Were the hours of operation that the administrators wanted, this town manager's office wanted to know what your hours of operation looking for?
We were currently going to serve breakfast and lunch, closing at probably between 5 and 6 p.m. And
Do you
then
want to
we
give
did-
yourself a window there? So
Right.
you could go to like 9 or something like
Right,
that?
and then we did, once we got settled in the routine, we did want to serve dinners also. So we would like to have the ability to stay open until probably 10 p.m.,
10 PM. So what time in the morning would you like for hours?
7 a.m.,
7 to 10 PM.
yes.
Okay. And then the other question was the date you look to open, the time of year? I
We
mean,
would like to open in the month of December.
okay, great.
We're doing it.
Okay, and just for the board's information, Falmouth Police Department, Lieutenant Reed, I've reviewed the application by Stephen Bowen, and they have no problem with issuing the license. The Health Department has said that they have made initial contact, and they need to issue a permit, but they've not received a complete application as of yet. And there are no other areas where there's any concerns. So what's the board's, yes?
I have a question just to clarify what I've heard out there in the town, and that was that you had also purchased rhubarb, and we're going to do something between the two. And I didn't think that was true, but I just wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to clarify. This is the one business you purchased and are going to be.
Artie actually told me about that rumor today, but that is not true.
Right. Good.
If we do have a motion, I would like the motion to include that all necessary Board of Health permits be issued before, and as well as building occupancy permit be issued before issuing the license.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, okay. So we have a
Second.
motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional comments? Any comments from the audience? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Good luck.
Thank you.
I wish you well. Okay, next up is approve application for new common victuals, pickle jar, DBA, the Pickle Jar, Creative Cafe, 170 Main Street in Falmouth, for the applicant. Do we have, you can come right up if you want.
How are you?
How you doing?
Good.
Good, you want to introduce yourself so we at least know who you are?
Yeah,
And those
I'm,
folks out there, this is kind of give you a quick second for a commercial as well.
I'm Ben Gallant, my wife Cassandra, and Kevin and Elizabeth Lay. We're all Falmouth residents. We're in the process, we've signed the purchase and sale on Pop Kitchen, right across the street here from Town Hall Plaza. And we're looking to do a similar concept, breakfast, lunch, cafe style, obviously under the name Pickle Jar Kitchen. And hours of operation would be similar to start, probably 7 to 3, and then possibly in the summertime if we could,
You want to get the whole hours on this application, so
well, then I would say 7 to 10.
7 to 10, okay? Because we don't adjust,
Okay, I didn't
that
know
way
it
you
was
can
adjustable
adjust
throughout.
your own hours based on when you want.
Okay.
7 to 10 PM, okay? And when do you look to open?
Hopefully the first week of February.
Okay. All right, if I can read a couple of things into the record. From Lieutenant Reed, I've reviewed the application. On behalf of the Pickle Jar for a new common victual license, exercise 170 Main Street, department has no problem. Board of Health Department has had no contact with the representatives of the Pickle Jar. Okay? And that is all we have for referrals. So I would if we do have a motion for this, I would hope that the motion would include the hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., as well as that they would need to obtain the necessary occupancy permit from the building department, as well as the food service permit.
I'll make that motion, but I also have a question. You guys didn't purchase rhubarb also, did you?
No, we didn't.
Just to be fair.
You really want to know about the rhubarb,
So
don't you?
nobody's come forward with that then?
I did.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion and a second.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
Where'd the name come from? Is it a joke, the pickle jar? Is it something you just?
Not really, we all, I mean, with all our gardens, we always make pickles out
Oh,
of every
okay.
vegetable, we have every pickled vegetable you could ever think of.
Gotcha, okay.
Kind of was catchy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any public comments? Listen, I wish you luck and enjoy the next month, because you'll probably be working a lot of hours after that. Good luck. So call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Good luck. Thank you.
Hope to see you all there.
Yeah. Next up, discuss Historic Districts Commission and Historical Commission, oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. Discuss and vote approval of an application for Vista pruning permit, Robert and Sue Everett, 77 Great Bay Street. I received an email today, but I'm looking for...
Mr. Chairman, I know we did get an email, and
Yes, I don't see a copy of the email. In the
I think-
packet, don't you?
if I recall it, it basically is allowing the vista pruning, not allowing the removal of the trees, and I believe they were sanctioned for doing something illegal in 2009. And I don't have that here. There it came, it would have been from the, Conservation Commission.
Well, is there anyone here for the applicant?
I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, although I made a speech before about how the ZBA gets everything settled in one night, but I'd like to talk to these people. Can we?
Well, I just would like them to be represented, and
Yeah.
they can represent themselves here.
Well,
at the
absolutely. I
meeting.
just had a couple of questions for them, so if they're not here, I'll make a motion to, go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to let you know, it says, according to the email from Ms. Harper, that there's no action required by the Board of Selectmen. The pruning that allowed is on the applicant's property, not town property, so.
Well, there's also a new email today from the Conservation Commission, separate, that came in with their decision.
Right, and I think
Regarding this.
this has the decision.
It,
I don't know if this is it. Maybe not. Was there another email from someone
It came
else?
separate, yeah, this
It was
afternoon.
this afternoon.
And I
Oh,
couldn't,
from Diane.
I had issues with my computer, and I just couldn't get it to print for some reason. It wouldn't.
Okay. So here's the decision. Is there a particular?
There was just an email explaining,
There's an attachment that is the Great Bay decision.
It's actually an email from Jennifer that, to Diane, explaining it.
Commission voted, okay, so this is from Jennifer. The commission voted a negative determination for the removal of the trees and a positive determination for the vista pruning work. The commission also revoked the 2009 vista pruning RDA for failure to conduct the work properly and removing all vegetation along the bank. Attached are the documents. Feel free to call me in with any questions.
Well, maybe my suggestion would be that they file a new application to the Board of Selectmen, because this application, without them here, I mean, this was for a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm uncomfortable having someone explain it without us actually picking up.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing too is that if it's not being done on town property, I don't think it needs our approval whatsoever, if I remember correctly.
Right.
The only approvals they need are from the Conservation Commission, so pursuant to,
I don't think there's any action we need to take on this.
right, pursuant to Ms. Harper's email, there's no action required by the board.
Okay, so we'll just won't take any action on this whatsoever. Okay? All right. Next up is discuss Historic District Commission and Historical Commission merger. Thank you, Brian, for your patience this evening.
My pleasure, Mr. Chairman, not an issue. The chairman's, Mr. Haddad of the Historical Districts Commission, and Heidi Waltz, the chairperson for the Historical Commission, have work commitments tonight, so they've asked me to facilitate this discussion. Board, we do have members of the Historical Districts Commission. Nicole Goldman is here, and we have a membership from the Historical Commission. Nancy Hayward is here, and Dick Sacchetti, not Richard, are here to answer any questions that I am unprepared or don't have the knowledge to give to the board. The board in your package should have a memo signed by both Heidi and Edward, which pretty much spells out the purpose of our meeting here tonight for the benefit of the audience, both here and in the public. I'll simply summarize it. Both boards met, both boards have agreed that, in a form of a vote, that this merger would be of memberships, not as two legal entities. We still have a historical commission, we still have a districts commission. They do a lot of similar work, as you know. The districts commission issues certificates of appropriateness for all the buildings that are in their districts. Last year they had 138 applications, which is a considerable amount of work. As you know, both boards issue in the regulatory world demolition permits. They have a very long list of significant buildings. The Historical Commission, that's their demolition delay bylaw. There's a 6-month hiatus if in fact you are on that list. Both have local jurisdictions and local districts. The Historical Commission also nominates national districts. They also nominate buildings for the national registers, and our local Historic District Commission does the same for the locals. We have design guidelines for both the Districts Commission, and there are the Secretary of the Interior standards for the Historical Commission, so they do a lot of very similar things. Both boards work very hard. I'm very impressed with their volunteerism and their energy, which leads to one of the other points, however, that, as you know, even with the Cape Cod Commission appointment, we run into issues with regards to our volunteer resources. There are 5 regular members for the Districts Commission with 2 alternates, and there are 5 members of the Historic Commission. And sometimes it's very difficult to reach quorum issues. It made a lot of sense. The planning board back in the 70s used to be the planning board and the architectural review board. Before there was a districts commission, they would run through their agendas with planning board issues, take off their planning board hat and put on their architectural review board hat. I envision the same sort of process happening here. But before they went too much further with their discussions, we thought it was important to brief the Board of Selectmen, as that these committees are your appointments, to get your initial reactions and feedback and guidance as to how you would like us to proceed, and that's the purpose of our meeting here tonight.
Well, my first comments are that during our appointment process, specifically even when we were doing liaisons, we talked extensively about trying to merge some of these committees together. Sometimes committees tend to, and maybe not necessarily this committee, but tend to outlive the life of what they were originally formulated for. Specifically, when it comes to volunteers in the community as well. When there's an issue pressing, there's a lot of volunteers. When it becomes mundane and becomes, an issue that meets weekly, that has a lot of impact, but
it is maybe mundane to some folks, so it's hard to get volunteers. I know that Nancy would take exception that this is mundane, the Historical Commission. I don't take that the wrong way, but I think it's a good idea, personally. Comments from the board? Other comments? Yep, Fred?
I tend to agree with you. It's something that we've discussed not just this year, but in years prior, about how we could whittle down the number of appointments that the board has to oversee, and this was one that's come up over and over again because of the potential overlap that these two commissions have. So it's good to see that they actually they agree to it, that's half the battle. I know when we talked about reducing the membership of the Historical Commission because they had trouble meeting quorum, there were issues and concerns about that from members of the Historical Commission, and of course, whenever you bring differing opinions to town meeting, it makes it more difficult sometimes to enact changes, but if the two commissions agree, just as we do, that this could work, then I think it should be an easy sell to town meeting.
Doug?
The Historical Commission's job has decreased a little bit because there are not a great number of new buildings being added to the list of historic buildings.
Right.
When it originally was started, they were in the process of creating that list. Now that list is created, there may be a few getting added, but I think their duties are reduced, and it makes a lot of sense to merge them.
The only area that I would make some comment is that it's important, specifically when we get an infusion of new members on the Historic Districts Commission, which is a regulatory body, that those folks understand that Falmouth did not adopt the state legislation, that we adopted our own legislation in regard to historic districts. So we need to stay within the scope of what the Falmouth legislation was adopted.
We've been working with the Districts Commission now for, I think, somewhere around 5 years, and it's been my pleasure to serve their needs, and I am very impressed with the progress made with their understanding of how regulatory boards work and think and act, both prior members and the new members, so I'm confident that will continue.
Okay. So are you looking for an area of support? Because I know this is a little bit of a consensus from the board, because we would have to formulate a article for town meeting.
The town meeting article would be required because the terms of the Historical Commission are 3 years, and the terms for the Historical Districts Commission are 5. So we would need to make sure that they merge or don't overlap, because then we'll really run into some issues. We still want to keep the board as 2 separate legal entities, but eventually there will always be a Districts Commission, the Historical Commission. Eventually there might be some sort of legislation for the town meeting to consider to merge them, but it wouldn't be necessary at this point. It would be necessary, though, for the terms for the Historical Commission.
Okay. The only other thing that I would, and I know that you'll talk to town council about this, and we had the issue when we moved the zoning board of appeals to 5-year terms, is the term limit scenario, and whether or not these folks would start all over, whether they would be grandfathered. It's not an area that I'm ready to answer tonight, but.
And we're still muddling through a little
Right.
bit, but before we muddle through even more, I thought it was important to get the boards to vote that this is something they really want to do, and then bring it to you for your guidance as to how we should proceed.
Okay.
One question. So I'm not quite sure how this would work, but as an example, would it be that, say, this week they're meeting as the Historic Districts Commission, and then next week they meet as the Historical Commission? Is that how you would maintain the legal entities without overlapping that?
That's one scenario.
Okay.
Or it could be one half of the meeting is devoted to historic districts, and then they put on the Historical Commission hat.
Okay. Again, we don't have on a vote tonight, but I'd like Brian to leave here with a little consensus from the board. I'm going to get to your public comment. Looking to hear any other comments from members of the board?
None.
None? Okay. Nancy? And Mr. Sayedi?
Good evening. I'm Nancy Hayward. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Falmouth Historical Commission. I'm the longest-serving member of the Falmouth Historical Commission, and I have served longer than any of the members of the Historic District Commission. I have printed some information for the members of the Historical Commission. I have a jammed copier. I would like to give Chairman Murphy a copy of a few sheets. I'm sorry I don't have more.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Maybe I'll give them to I'm going to give them to the town manager to disseminate to the rest of the board.
Yes, hopefully you all have a working copier at your disposal. This is a fairly new idea to the Falmouth Historical Commission. It was brought up at our October meeting. I did not get a copy of this memorandum with the date of November 26th until today. I presume you all have this. It was sent to the Board of the Selectmen. The Falmouth Historical Commission and the Falmouth Historic District Commission have never met together to have a discussion about this merger. One of the things that this would involve is more meetings. I will say that it has never been easy to get members of the Falmouth Historical Commission. When I first joined the commission, and I'm sorry to say I can't tell you quite when that was, I attended their meetings for quite a while before I joined the commission. And we have terms that run for 3 years. I was not aware that the Historic District Commission had 5-year terms, and I think it would be interesting to review the appointments to the Historic District Commission and to have you find out whether these people were being appointed for 5-year terms. Because prior to today, I was not aware that they had 5-year terms. I understand that there is an effort to write an article for a spring town meeting. I know Mr. Haddad isn't here, and I know Ms. Waltz isn't here. I knew that Ms. Waltz was working. I know that of the Historic District Commission alternate member, Tamsin George, is in India. So I don't know whether she has had any opportunity to weigh in on this. It took quite a while to get a representative from the Falmouth Historical Society to the Historic District Commission. And it is sort of a requirement of their structure that they have a member from the Falmouth Historical Society. And I know that you recently appointed Nicole Goldman, who is an architect, to the Historic District Commission. And that is excellent because that is also a member whom they have had difficulty having, that is an architect, as one of their members. I personally don't quite believe that we're ready to send an article to town meeting in the spring. I gave, the packet I gave Mr. Murphy has some background on the formation of the Historic District Commission. The Historic District Commission was created in 1975, and the Historic District Commission was created by special legislation, Chapter 654, Acts of 1975. It was not created under the standard state Historic Districts Commission. The Historical Commission was created at the town meeting on the 2nd of April in 1979. Yet the Historical Commission is the body that creates historic districts, so this worked a little bit backwards. Some of the work that they do is similar, but some of it is not. And I don't know that having a type of combined board where it's going to increase the number of meetings per month for a combined group is something that will necessarily be appealing to members. I personally think this requires more discussion than has occurred so far. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Sure, and Nancy, that's really what's the beginning of here. The board, Brian brought this to the board, and we're not taking a vote to do this tonight. We're trying to give him a little consensus to be able to sit down with both of your groups together, come up with a process, how many meetings, things of that nature, and then to see whether we have buy-in. But as we move forward, unless we talk, we don't know whether anything's going to work.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. It's usually my line. All right, I've got to get to Mr. Sayed.
Dick Sacchetti, I serve on the Historical Commission. Like Nancy, I only got this memorandum today, and I don't have an issue with it because we've been discussing this, and getting it today is not a problem because I'm in favor of the concept. I think what I'm concerned about is that this memorandum was put together without meeting of the combined committees, because what they're doing, what is trying to be done, is combine the memberships, not the committees at this point. So you would have 5 members on both boards, 5 members on the Historical Commission, and those same 5 would serve on the District Commission. Hopefully we can work that out, because on the surface, just getting that today, it kind of doesn't make sense. You're asking committees, we have 5, we have 4 active, which is great. I don't know how many they have on the District Committee, but you're asking 5 people now to do twice as much work. You're asking them to sign up for 5-year terms. So in doing twice the amount of work, it doesn't become very appealing. If you had a hard time finding people to serve on either committee independently, you're certainly going to have a hard time now getting someone who's going to have to serve on both. I think it needs a little work in terms of meeting with the committees. I think the concept of 5 members doesn't work. 2 alternatives, if you put 7 on, you don't need the alternatives because you only need 4 for a quorum.
Well, we have 4 virtually every meeting now. So we would technically always have a quorum. I like the idea, I'm speaking in favor of it, but I think we've got to come back after the committees meet and work out the logistics of how this is going to work. And hopefully we'll be able to do it.
Well, I appreciate your comments, Dick. Of course, tonight, the devil is in the detail. The detail's got to be that both of your groups have to get together and work it out. This board, I think Brian's bringing a concept, and if you don't embrace it, we're going to have a problem selling it at town meeting.
No, I'm here to speak in favor of
Okay.
it. Okay, but I just want to make the comment that this needs a lot of work before we come back to you.
Sounds good.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brian, did you have anything else to say? You want to make comments?
So thank you. I'm Nicole Goldman. And yes, I was recently appointed to the Historic Districts Commission. It's a relatively new concept that was brought up last month. I do respect the comments of what you've had to say here, and I do think it will warrant additional conversation. I know on the Districts Commission that we are in need of additional members of the group. And so one of the reasons was to make it a more efficient process. I do want to go on the record to say that unfortunately, I'm not a registered architect. I do architectural planning and design, but I'm not an architect. But I do certainly have those skills. And so I do think it warrants more discussion, but I think this is the beginning of a good process.
Okay, great, thank you. Brian, anything else? Looks like you got a lot of work to do.
I did ask both boards to at least put it to a vote that this is something to pursue.
Okay.
The devil's in the details, of course. But if we have a concept, buy in with the concept, buy in with the concept, buy in with the concept, we'll settle the details for you.
Okay, the board give Brian some inclination. I'm going to poll the board a little bit. I know we're surely not there tonight, but should we charge him with continuing to explore the concept? David? Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got a message from us.
So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. The next item up is vote to approve revised fiscal year 2004 operating budget policy. You should have all received a red line copy that had a couple of adjustments that took into account some of the comments the board had made. Does anyone have any problems or any corrections? Or are we ready to vote this as our document? I believe all of the actual adjustments were on page 2. And then we did separate, in fact, outside of the entire document, the meals tax on the final page, page 7. Yes, Mr. Buck.
That is the one thing I would refer you to. On page 2, it mentions, and this is the paragraph, local estimated receipts, the bottom half of the page. It says, see the meals tax policy on page 6. I should probably say 7.
Okay.
But other than that, I have nothing to add.
So you want to make a motion we approve with that one correction?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. You just make that one correction, Heather, we're all set. Start working on the budget then, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next item up is approved minutes of the meeting of November the 19th. Do I have a motion?
I move approval of minutes.
Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Summary of actions. Thank you, everybody out there, for your patience this evening. First up will be annual license renewals. I'm going to abstain for a couple of these, so we'll go right through them if that's all right. All alcoholic club license, just to disclose on the whole of an all alcoholic seasonal liquor license. Do we need to read them, or do you want to vote them all together? This is for Cape Cod Curling Club, Woods Hole Golf Club, Falmouth Rod and Gun Club. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to
Second?
approve those three.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, all alcoholic inn holders license. Again, I'm the holder of an all alcoholic seasonal liquor license. Holiday Inn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'm going to pull out a couple of these that I'll abstain from, so I'm going to read all alcoholic restaurant license. Anejo Casino Restaurant, Falmouth Country Club, Falmouth Jade, Glass Onion, Golden Swan, the Golf Club of Cape Cod, Hong Kong Restaurant, J.R. Brody's Roadside Tavern, Paul's Pizza, Quarterdeck, Silver Lounge, and the Town Tavern. Disclosure, I'm the holder of an all-alcoholic seasonal liquor license. Do I have a motion on those?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'm going to read these following licenses that I will abstain from because of their close proximity or because I have an interest in the property. Captain Kidd, the Conference Table, the Falmouth Beach House,
Fusion Grill.
the Fusion Grill. Okay, so do I have a motion on those?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and one abstention. So moved. All alcoholic retail package store, Old Barn Package Store, RJ's Variety and Liquors, T-Ticket Market, Three-Way Enterprises. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Wine and Malt Restaurant, again, a disclosure, I'm the holder of an all-alcoholic seasonal liquor license. Crab Apple's Restaurant, Falmouth Cinema Pub, Seafood Sam's.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, the following common victual license: D'Angelo's, Dunkin' Donuts, East Main, East Falmouth Highway, Dunkin' Donuts T-Ticket Highway, Dunkin' Donuts 614 Main Street, Dunkin' Donuts Holly Park, Olinda's West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth Percy's Place, Friendly's Restaurant, Mary Ellen's Portuguese Bakery, McDonald's, Monica's Cafe, Pie in the Sky, and Supreme Pizza. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Entertainment license. Silver Lounge, J.R. Brody's Roadside Tavern, Casino Restaurant, Town Tavern, Woods Hole Golf Club, the Golf Club of Cape Cod, Captain Kidd Restaurant, Quarterdeck, the Beach House, Fusion Grill, Leaside, Holiday Inn, and Falmouth Jade.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Sunday Entertainment, the Golf Club of Cape Cod. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Inn holders license, Inn on the Square.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Automatic amusement devices, Captain Kidd, the Falmouth Beach House, Falmouth Cinema Pub, Holiday Inn, Leaside, Town Tavern.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Movie theater, Falmouth Cinema Pub.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Class motor vehicle licenses, O'Hara Motors, Inc. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Class 2, secondhand dealer's license, Falmouth Motor Car, Little Foreign Car Garage. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Livery license, Leslie's Limo.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Taxi license, all-season taxi.
So
Do I have
moved.
a motion?
Second.
Motion, second.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. That includes all of our license renewals. We're going to move to the summary of actions, and I'll go down the list if, we'll try to catch all of them. Number 2, request for beach wedding permit, Roby's, Old Silver Beach. Number 3, approved request for a special permit, On the Water LLC Striper Fest. Would you like to hold that? We'll hold
So I
that,
can short
okay?
that, yep.
Number 4, approve request for special event, Buzzards Bay Crossing, hold that. Approve request for special event, Falmouth Flag Day 5K run, I'd like to hold that. Approve conservation restriction, Quistit Avenue, Woods Hole. It's 8 Quistit Avenue, Woods Hole, in 208, 210, and 212 Quistit Avenue, Woods Hole. Is there someone here for the applicant? Okay, we'll hold that as well. Next up is vote to authorize town manager to sign support of Cape Cod Commission grant applications, digital reorganization, regional unified communication system. Okay, and appoint Denise Coleman as a board member of the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group. So can I have a motion on number 2, 7, and 8?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, first up, request for special event on the water. Niedermeyer, you're up, buddy.
Mr. Chairman, Board, I'd like to just amend that by cutting 2 days off. Now having a better understanding of the use of that facility and a little bit of a conversation with Helen Kennedy, I think it's easy for me to set that up on Thursday. I think would be the 26th, September 26th through Sunday the 29th. And we should be able to set up and conclude that event in that period of time. The actual event itself will be on Saturday. I've spoken with Greg Frazier. He's all set as far as the docks. He has a further understanding of what our needs are just on that Saturday.
Okay, he just had some problems about closing the parking lot for that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I think he just saw the 7 days and was scared.
Okay.
And when I heard afterwards that you guys thought it was 7 days, I was scared. So
So the event is the 26th, the 27th,
The event itself is-
28th, and 29th.
it just, the setup time is the 26th and 27th. We'll have the event on the 29th and takedown on the 28th, the event on the 28th and takedown on the 29th.
You also had a liquor permit for the 27th and the 28th, which was already approved.
Yeah, that can stay.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
in the event that we have something on Friday night. I know we need that.
So the 30th comes off also?
Yes, please.
So do I have a motion?
Does that mean we should also make sure the permit fee down at the bottom gets changed to 4 days instead of the 6 days?
Right.
Yeah, the $600 goes down to $400.
Okay.
I'll second it with that amendment.
So the motion is second. Any further discussion? I just want to say it's a wonderful event, and thank you for bringing it back to Falmouth.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank
All-
you, guys, board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next up is Old Silver Beach water sports. This is for the Buzzards Bay Crossing. Eddie, you want to get up and speak about this?
Hi, good evening. I would like to get a special event permit for the, what I'm calling the Buzzards Bay Crossing. It's going to be an event that includes windsurfing, kite surfing, and stand-up paddleboards. And I'm going to hold the event at the Seacrest Hotel, on the beach at the Seacrest Hotel, but I know that it's going to spill over into the public area. Windsurfers will come into the beach occasionally. Locals with their stand-up paddleboards will have parking permits for the resident lot. They will go there and use the resident lot and launch their boards from there. It is allowed at that time of the year to windsurf off of that resident lot. It is not closed to windsurfing or stand-up paddleboarding until about 3 weeks later. So I was told maybe I don't need a permit, but in order for me to go out and get sponsors and get people behind me to organize this event, I feel that having a permit would help me out. And I don't want to come to a point where people are using the resident lot and the public lot at Old Silver, and then someone come up to me and say, "Where's your permit?" Even though I am doing it at the Seacrest, and the main event will be at the Seacrest.
I just have a question, Mr.
I
Chairman.
just have a couple of issues to the board. I had an
Memorial
opportunity
Day
to speak with
weekend.
Mr. Hoffer today,
Okay.
and Mr. Hoffer did not realize that this was Memorial Day weekend, and he told me that he was not going to recommend this event, specifically for the use of the resident parking lot. Now, I do realize that, if the weather's not great, that there'll be availability. But they did, in fact, staff the lots last year, meaning residents use the resident lot, and pay lot is still a pay lot, even though we don't have lifeguards. The issue about landing stuff on the beach, and we have a full weekend there, I'm not ready to make a determination on whether Mr. Hoff is going to be willing to do that. I thought, when he left the assistant town manager and I today, he thought you were withdrawing this, so I would much prefer to have him comment about the use of that beach area with paddle boarders and windsurfers there, because with all due respect, Eddie, I appreciate your business, but we have a lot of folks that pay taxes in this community. They show up on Memorial Day weekend, it's 80 degrees, they want to go to the beach, and their kids can't go in the water because we have, paddle boarders and windsurfers coming in and out. My phone's going to ring off the hook, I can tell you that, so.
That's why I'm here.
I know, but unfortunately, Mr. Hoff is not here to be able.
He said he'd be able to make it next week. I wasn't able to make it tonight. I talked to him a little while ago.
Okay.
So
Well,
if we want to move this
we're
to
going to have
next
a
week.
workshop next week. We'd probably put you on for the 17th.
Okay, that's fine.
What's the
No
board?
action then?
Pardon me?
So is the applicant then requesting a continuance?
Yes.
Yeah.
So no action by the board is required at this
Right.
point? Or-
I know that he thought you could possibly use some parking in the dirt lot.
Yeah, that would be great if we could get the parking in the dirt lot, but I'm just more concerned that I'm going to cause a little commotion here if people spill over into, especially the locals. They all have parking permits, and they're going to bring their boards over to that lot, and then they're going to be going out there, and it could be not very good.
Right. And so I want to make sure Mr. Hoff is on board with this.
Okay.
Go ahead, so what were you saying, Ben? I'm sorry.
No, that was the extent of my comments, thank
So
you.
you want to ask for a continuance until the
Yes,
17th? Okay, so we'll put you on.
Can I just ask a quick question? And I don't know, are you my son does payroll for somebody out of his own business, with someone that has a business by the Seacrest doing, it's not you, is it? My son Nicola? Oh, okay. I'm going to abstain I just want to make sure. 'Cause I'll abstain from the vote when that happens.
Oh, I recognize the last name now.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick Bragger's my bookkeeper.
All right. I'll just, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll see you on the 17th.
I'm going to abstain from that.
You get one abstention.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Next up is, I held this, was the Falmouth Heights, the Flag Day Run. The only reason I held this was last year we put a cap on of 500 runners, and I think that would be appropriate again. He's only asking for 400, so it would be within the cap of the 500. So do I have a motion with that?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next up is a couple of conservation restrictions. Linda, would you like to come up and explain them to us? Because, are you representing?
I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, you look like Linda Davis without my
It's okay.
glasses on.
I knew you were looking at me.
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm Paula Pariseau. I'm with the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust. I'm here representing the 300 Land Trust and also the Buzzards Bay Coalition. These are two conservation restrictions on Quizet Harbor. One is for almost 5 acres, and the other is a little over 3.5 acres. They're adjoining. I think a lot of people in town are familiar with the area. It's the submerged Atlantic cedar swamp. There's an osprey pole out there. The owners of the property are very committed to providing the highest level of permanence and protection to this very sensitive habitat, and that's why they are seeking to put conservation restrictions on their properties. The Conservation Commission has voted that these conservation restrictions are in the public interest. The state has reviewed the conservation restrictions and has found them appropriate. In order for the conservation restrictions in the state of Massachusetts to be perpetual, it requires also a vote and a signature of the selectmen of the town. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We are seeking a vote of approval for both of these conservation restrictions.
Anyone have any questions?
And the Morses are aware of all this, right?
Excuse me?
The Morses are aware of all this.
Yes, they couldn't be here tonight.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the
Conservation restriction?
conservation restriction.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I was a little slow on the, back to the Falmouth Flag Day 5K.
Yep.
Of course, the application will have to change the permit fee by our.
Right, all of the fees will be changed, even permits we've already issued.
Okay.
Then when they pick them up, they'll be charged differently.
I just wonder if they need to be notified that it's 2 or 3 times the fee that they thought they were applying for.
I'm sure they'll find that out. Okay, next up is, takes us to the end of our agenda. We have the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple updates. I was pleased to join the board's Capital Advisory Committee for their initial meeting this past Tuesday. We had a very insightful discussion, including reviewing the mission of this committee. Selectman Brent Putnam was designated by the committee to serve as chair. Finance Director Jennifer Petit also joined us. It is anticipated the committee will be meeting weekly on Thursday evenings beginning December 6th. We look forward to participating in that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On Thursday evening of the past week, I joined the League of Women Voters at their monthly meeting for discussion on the concept of privatization of services as well. Also, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I want to thank the staff members of the Department of Public Works for their fine work in erecting the extensive holiday decorations in and about downtown on the downtown common. I also want to thank the Falmouth Village Association for the new holiday decorations which they had acquired and which Public Works also erected. And I also want to thank all for the very successful holiday stroll town common lighting this past Saturday, as well as the Christmas parade, which occurred very successfully, as the board is aware, on Sunday. As per tradition, I believe that was the 49th annual Christmas parade. Exciting to think that number 50 will be in the year to come. Chamber of Commerce, merchants, churches, residents, and all involved are to be commended. It was a particular delight for Stephanie and I to participate and observe and be a small part of that wonderful tradition. That concludes our report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, before I ask for individual selectmen reports, I'd just like to make a couple announcements. That next week we are having a workshop, and the workshop will entail options for 9/11 services in the community moving forward in the future, whether we remain and continue to keep our 9/11 with the individual police and fire departments, whether we look at the option of merging those, whether we look at the option to have the sheriff's department take over or assist us in the 9/11 services, or the county, which has started an initiative for 911 services as well. So the board will have a full workshop with presentations from the sheriff's department, the county, as well as what our current services are provided by both our police and fire department. So that will be on next week's agenda. And I'd also like maybe to have the board look on their calendar. Our last meeting before the holiday break would be on the 17th, and traditionally the board has looked to go for a soda or a beverage in moderation after the meeting. So I'd make that offer as the chairman that we would adjourn after the meeting and be able to continue to do that as a group to, talk about our successes, our non-successes in our family and friends in 2012, and look forward to camaraderie in 2013.
How'd you pronounce it? Kumarad. I think you said Kumadin.
Kumadin? No, I know, that's what, did you miss your shot today? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. And just for folks' information, Mrs. Flynn is on a well-deserved break this evening, and she plans on joining us again next week. I'll open it up to the board.
While the board's giving its report, there are some documents that require signature in there.
There's like about 400
They're
documents.
regulatory agreement for the Habitat project. They've been approved by council as well as by DHCD, and Habitat is very eager to move forward and ask for your signature. It's all approved, it's just.
There's like 400 other, with all the licenses and everything else in there. Why don't you pull out just those documents, because I don't think the board wants to sit here that long. I know they can get to the rest of the licenses. Any other comments from the board? Doug?
Just, I guess, first on the calendar, I guess that means that our meeting after the 17th, the next one's not until January 7th?
That's correct.
Is that correct? The wind turbine option process group has asked me to make sure that this board aware of both what their plan is and their timetable, that group will probably be making some recommendations of different options is what they're going to give us. They are not going to give us one plan that they have all agreed to and are fully behind, but they're going to give us a list of different things we might consider and the information that they have to support different parts of the option when they eventually present it.
And when do you think we will?
I think what they would like to do is have us meet on Tuesday, January 15th, which is at their meeting. They're hoping to have a document emailed to us on the Friday before that for us to read over the weekend, and then have them make their presentation at their meeting on the 15th.
Well, it doesn't give this board much time for either the spring town meeting or the special town meeting. The warrant closes on the 28th of January. Just FYI. And just so the board knows that, we don't have any problems with that. But the other question to the town manager, would we be looking to do a different meeting for the budget? A lot of times we have a meeting that we do just the budget.
Ideally, Mr. Chairman, if we could, you do have to have that transmitted, as I recall, to Finance Committee by the middle of the month of January.
Right.
So your window is very short.
So just so the board knows, maybe we may have a meeting later in the week on the first week of January. Typically, we do a meeting just to go through the budget and approve the budget. Okay? Anything else from the board? Any other things moving forward? Okay, so I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919, when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116, or PuritanCapeCod.com.